Those 5 questions actually start with the big question of why, right? Then it's the question of what, who, and how. And then we come with the question of with what, and in terms of resources. And that's where I introduce myself finally, because I know you wanted to know who I am. I'm a business analyst and a management accountant. I'm not a financial accountant. I've studied that. I know how to do balance sheets. I know all that funny stuff. I know how to talk to investors, all of that. But here is what I understood. First thing to do is to understand your own business. If you understand your own business and all its details, then eventually you can go to pitch somewhere. Then eventually you can go to sell whatever you do. Then eventually you can start to actually build an enduring company. Because when we sell, it's not that it's the end of the story. When we perform an exit, what means that the company we built is been sold. It doesn't mean the company is closed. It means that's the stage. From there on, it's going to grow slower, right? So it's a different mechanism. Takes away the dynamic, but it's still about growing. And to design a business that can grow over years and eventually serves its purpose for decades, it all starts at the very beginning. And me as a management accountant, not as a financial accountant, I'm doing exactly that. I'm trying to crunch the numbers in a way that 2 things happen. A, it makes sense what you're doing, and B, it adds up in terms of resources, so that you have enough resources to do whatever you're intending to do. And we have heard some financial guys today who stick to the numbers as if this was a universe on its own. It's not. I've been doing that job for 20 years now, and there is one thing I have learned. Numbers is a consequence of the intended doing. It's not that you plan your business around the numbers. It is those numbers that are supposed to make sure that it does make sense and it adds up. So now, with all the programs we're performing, not only here in Hub Belgrade, everywhere, you're always asked to come up with a business plan that puts those questions in one line. It's like if you think about the business plan you're supposed to create, it's those questions answered one after the other. If we try to teach how to pitch, it's again one after the other. In real life, it's not like that. In real life, it's not one after the other. It is those questions that have to be answered every day. And make no mistake, even if the business is established for 15 years, you're asking yourself the very same questions every other week. So the key of how I experience finance is to provide balance and to make sure that all those ruling aspects are in reciprocity. So what does that mean? It means I have certain strengths, I have certain weaknesses. Maybe the market is very challenging. So what does it mean if the market is very challenging? It means I have to come with more resources, or with a better idea, or with a better product. So entrepreneurship to me is to find the perfect mix, the perfect balance of those questions. And that's our approach, no matter what I do. Startup, evaluation, if it is about to buy a company, if it was about to exit a company, that's what we do. We try to communicate the balance and not, let me do that again, and not as if it was one story. Because it is not a fairy tale. Pitching, running a business is not a fairy tale. I read my daughter at night. It's like the start, that's not the most exciting part, and then it's the end, sleep well. That's not it. Why? Because it's a circle. Whenever you think, Dr. Dan, hey, how are you doing? Yeah, of course you can join. We were waiting for you, except we didn't wait for you. Here you go. So let me recap that just for a second for the 2 of you. It is those 5 questions that everybody knows. We do know as well, but we have a different approach. The questions of why we're doing what we do, what we're doing exactly, for whom we are doing it, with whom we are doing it, how exactly we are doing it, and with what kind of resources. It's the essence of every business plan, it's the essence of every idea to realize it. So now the point here with 365 is to understand that there is something like a balance. They're interacting, all those questions, they cannot be looked at separately. So one thing happens if you do. You tell a great story, you have a great communication on social media, you have all those things, but you have them isolated. You have them isolated from each other. So are the numbers. And as I said it before, I'm doing that for quite long enough to have understood one thing. If the resource department, if the financial department considers itself as being separated from the business as such, it's a guarantee of failure, because that's what you just cannot do, because it's a circle. You always go in circle. Let me do that again. You do not go in the way you start, you do something, you end. It's not the way it happens. It is in circles. It goes in circles all the way long. It crosses the questions. So that's why we're talking about balance, reciprocity. If I don't have a motivation, I can still compensate with it. And I'm even not shy to tell you, I'm not only social impact businesses that I was running. There is nothing wrong about for profit for the sake of the shareholders' profit. Nothing wrong about that. But obviously, there isn't quite a big enough an answer to the why. There is no bigger purpose. They just want to get rich. So now, because they want to get rich, they have a focus on the others. Because I have to balance a weakness with a strength. Agreed to that. So now when we're talking about finance, it is not crunching numbers. It is not showing you charts that just don't tell any story. It's like, seriously, I don't care about average. I need to know how is this average being calculated. 5% of 500 euros, I don't care if I spend it more or less. 5% of 50,000 euros, I do. Other way around, as a small business, if I spend 200 euros less, it makes a huge difference. So to me, it's not theoretical financial background knowledge you try to impose to the company. For me, it's not something you have to do because now you're an entrepreneur. For me and for us in 365, this is something that is a part of the whole story. It is part of the circle. If you cannot close that circle of entrepreneurship, and that's the circle of entrepreneurship, make no mistake, you're running a business for 5 years, you go back to the beginning. You ask yourself, why are we doing that? Did the audience change? Is our product good enough? Competition never sleeps. What is a superior product today, 2 years from now, might not be compatible anymore. So what are you going to do? You have to go back to that. But then hopefully you have other aspects to say, okay, but let's call our finance guy, what would be me in that story, and ask him how much budget we have for a new product. If you don't know how much budget you have, you don't know how much resources you have. So, and then one thing happens. You have a product design that is brilliant. You have a marketing research that tells you the market is great. Yeah, but you forgot to understand that you need resources to realize it. So now if the resources are not sufficient enough to realize it, two things go down. Either I go to the capital market, I find investments. And we all know that's not the easiest thing to do. Or, and that's our approach, and that's, by the way, how we run all the businesses we did the past 20 years. Asking for money is the last resource we go. The last thing we do, because if you find a way to adjust your doing so that it is in balance again with the potential, the resources, the market, all that stuff, you might find a way to do it without outside money. And if you find a way to do it without outside money, it increases the value of the company. And then it will be completely up to you if you go to all this investment industry and sell it and make an exit and talk about shares and how many shares you get for 2,000 euros or not. Seriously, this is something on a different page of the same book. It comes when it comes. First things first. Know your business and fix the business. And there is no way to do that without this balance. So, if we can agree on that, I would like to take the time we have, which is really not that much, to walk you briefly to those through those questionings. Yeah, that circle of how we look at things. For a simple reason, I would invite you, if this was 50 people, I would shout and say, I want you, but now it's like more friendly. I would invite you to write down the answers to those questions for your own businesses. Because it would instantly show you where there is some potential to optimize. And if you find potential to optimize, again, since it's in balance, it means you most likely find out you don't need the money you think you need. I understood only today, to be honest, that this notion of I need money is omnipresent. Yeah, sure, you need something to kickstart. But that's not the way it works. You cannot get up in the morning and say, I need money. No. You get up in the morning and ask yourself, what do I want to do? And what does it take to get it started? What does it take to keep it running? And if the answer is 2 million euros, okay, then you go to another circle because then it's investment stocks. But if it takes 2 million euros to get your idea running, I promise you, and I do it with a drop of my blood, nobody's going to give you the money. That's just not how it works. My experience, and again, that's what we do, small business. Every business I know started small. And then it grew organically. And then it became outside money as a booster to scale, whatever that means. But as long as you don't find a way to grow organically, you're doomed to fail. Why? And we're gonna go through that. Because you missed, and this is very important, and this is why I'm standing here, and this is what I'm standing for. You missed to design the processes and the mechanism to then maintain that company you're intending to build. If you're asking for 2 million, you need the structure to maintain and to administer it. If you have the best product, you don't know how to ship it, you're gonna fail. There is not enough money on planet Earth to compensate for that. Because money is one aspect, but it's only one aspect. I can put as much money as we have on planet Earth. If the other things are not in place, if they're not interacting properly, if they're not in balance, worst case, failure. More likely case, it's not optimized. And if it's not optimized, you're gonna have problems as you grow. So let's go through these questions if you agree. Which is just the time. Oh, bene. Let's go through that questions. When we ask ourselves why, it basically is this vision and the value proposition. And I want to be very honest and frank with you right now. I have a really hard time understanding why somebody is focusing on finding himself and defining his purpose for several months. I understand there is something like capacity building. I understand there is a business modeling process. But if you start a business, you more or less should have the vision already. I don't understand why somebody would try to find the vision just because you want to start a business. It doesn't make sense to me. You have this vision. Now the question is, how can you realize it? How can you make it happen? Nevertheless, you have to shape it. So whatever vision there is, whatever the intention is, especially with impact and social business, vision, intention, two different things. The vision is to make the world a better place. The intention is of how you're going to do that. Okay, I'm going to help poverty, whatever, right? Different things. It has to come down to a revenue model. And in my universe, to have a revenue model is where it all starts. If I don't know what people are supposed to pay for, I can never, ever be self-sustainable. It just doesn't work. So even if I'm finance, I'm actually quite emotional guy. My partners are not, they're businessmen. So when we have a project, they talk about the world would be great and we could do this and that. And I have one partner who's a real badass. He always asks, so what they're gonna pay for? And if we have, it's not pitches, if we talk to people who want to start a business and we listen to their story, then the same guy would say, and this is what people are going to pay for. And you need this one, you need this pinpoint where you say this is what is the revenue model. And obviously this is where you can blend in non-for-profit, for-profit. We have a lot of impact being realized out of a for-profit company. Nothing wrong about it. We have also the other way around, people that get kickstarted by grants, but then with the technology they created with the money being provided with grants, they used it for a profit part, it's like for a normal business. Beautiful. Why is it beautiful? Because then I have something. I need something. I need an answer to the question of what is it exactly we are selling. Not what we are doing. What is it we're selling? What is my portfolio? And it's not what we are doing. It is what are we selling. Cha-cha. It is what are we selling. It's not what we're doing. You understand the difference? This is very important to us because what we're doing is up here. And I know that it's far too easy to get caught up in this. People tend to talk constantly about their why. What is great? But it's just a fraction of the whole circle. It has to come to the point of what are we selling? So I need to have a portfolio. Why is that? Because only if I break it down to something I can put a price tag on, I can start doing my job, what is calculation. Because, you know, financial is a pretty easy thing. It's the simplest, most stupid thing there is. Revenue equals the price per unit times the unit sold. End of it. That's the revenue. But as simple as it is, as important it is to do sales projection by this, it's not good enough to say I'm gonna have 200,000 euros. You have to understand how this 200,000 euros is gonna be created. And this is units times price per unit. So when we do financial planning, also with the apps, service providing, all kind of subscription-based stuff, it's always being buttoned up, it's always being broken down. Times per unit, that's the revenue. Never the other way around. Why? Because at the very same time I have a price calculation to it. So that means I instantly see and understand if I sell 200,000 units, but I need to buy my parts on stock, will I be able to buy that much on stock? Will I have the cash flow to do so? It's one thing to sell, it's another thing to pre-finance the sales. Not with you, because in trading we do that. But it's the same. If you want to scale and you realize the turnover that you projected equals 3 billion people, and your infrastructure is just good enough to serve half of it, or you have to call Microsoft to get the other server, but the other server comes with a fixed cost every month, then you have to know, because this is what financial planning is all about. So, and they say it again, all this circle, it factors into the numbers and not the other way around. Number guys are listeners to doing guys. So, and then, obviously you ask yourself the question of who. But what does that mean? Again, the perfect client, when it comes to the customer groups and my perfect client and all this weeks of asking yourself what shoe size should my clients have. It's cute and it helps you understanding everything a little bit better, but it's completely irrelevant. Because if you don't find the right channels to address those people with the shoe size 43, it's worth exactly zero to know what is the perfect profile of your client. What is much more important is to know how to get to them. And I've witnessed far too many times that this is left completely unconsidered. Yes, we do have this target group. Yes, it is well defined. Yes, we paid money to an agency to draw a nice picture. But the question is, how will we reach out to them? And again, this is finance I'm talking, okay? I'm talking finance. I'm not talking about playing the violin and we are a great startup. No, this is finance, down to earth. Why do I need to do that? Why do I need to know that? Because it all has implications to the costs that come with it. It all has implications to the investment, what is the upfront payment I need. It all has implications to the sales. Other way around. If I have a nice idea of who would be my channels, but to develop those channels I need extra money up here, but I don't have the extra money, then I don't have a plan. And in business planning, and sorry, I don't want to provoke too much, but it is the truth. It's a huge difference between is it possible or is it feasible? It might be possible to develop a market as intended, described, researched, but it's not feasible because one of those aspects just do not support it. So feasible means I have the money to do so, I have the right product at the right place at the right time, then it's feasible. Possible, it's much more than feasible. The other thing is the competition. And you know, we don't fear competition, we embrace competition for a simple reason. It means we're doing right, because if only I care about, something is wrong. If nobody else cares about the same customer groups, something is wrong. I want people to be interested in my clients. Because if I'm the only one, it's like dating the ugly girl. But I have to be superior than here with the pricing, with the quality of the product whatsoever. Or I have just much more money to kick out the competition. But a market without competitor, I would never ever touch. And one aspect of the who is the team. Completely I would say underrated. If you don't have a good team, you can forget it to start with. Why? Because the team is as important as the client. Because the team members also have to meet this, perfect picture, this ideal profile of who is working with me. Sometimes more important than the client, because consumer markets is very broad. So that means you just push in marketing, and even if you're not that precise, the more money you push, the more likely the right people is going to be addressed. With team is different. So now, when we talk about finance, this team issue is a huge issue because there isn't that many talented people left, especially in IT. There isn't that many talented people left. So that means they know their price. They want to have the money. In real life, it's a very hard call to take the talented one for double the money or to take a less talented one. Both can be right decisions, but it is a decision that has to be done. So when talking about finance, and I decided this is going to be what I leave here as an impression when it comes to finance. It is helping you to make the right decisions. It is to make decisions consciously. There is no right or wrong as such, but it has to be in one line. The decision making has to follow the same notions here. And finance is supporting you to make this decision. Nothing more, but also nothing less. Okay, this is the message. This is real finance. It's not about bookkeeping. It's not about taxes. It's not about showing some papers as an appendix to a pitch to somebody you don't even know with his full name. It is for yourself to understand the difference between possible and feasible. It is to reassure that what you're intending to do can be done, will be done, and will be done on the long run. Entrepreneurship is endurance, it's not a sprint. And believe me, we've tried that. It was back in the 90s, yeah. You kickstarted something for 2-3 months, you found an investor, exit, you got your new car. But none of those companies exist today anymore. Companies we built 15 years ago, small businesses running traditional business, they still exist today. So why is that? Because the mechanism is working and because we understood the importance of how. And now this is where I come from. This is my profession. So now I might be a little bit enthusiastic. Forgive me for that. This how means how exactly. That means process chains. It doesn't mean I want to go sell it on a market. It means going into details. What does it take? What does it take step by step by step to do what I plan to do. Because in those details is both. It's big chances and there is showstoppers. I have seen the best planning. I have seen brilliant ideas with the best people, with money. But they messed up when it came to operations. And when you mess up in operations, then you mess up with the base of everything. Eventually, it will collapse. And I'm not telling you this as a threat or because I think somebody has to tell you. I'm telling you this because I've been asked to share those little experiences I have. And when I do share that little experience I have, I can tell you failure has always been here more often than anywhere else. Because here it's so easy to adjust. You have instant feedback with the social media. What are you going to do? You have instant feedback. You have everything you need. You know your product inside out. If you don't have a business. So now when it comes to realizing it, when it comes to actually make it happen, details is what matters. Here you can be creative, here you can be vague, here you can be flexible, here you can be whatever might be as an image of a cool startup entrepreneur. Okay, but then find people with this team who sign responsible for operations. And I mean it. We had up to 70 people running. If there was nobody taking care of operations, it wouldn't have worked. Obviously, or allegedly, that's not the most sexiest thing to do in a company. I don't know where it comes from. I love doing that because I know it's the backbone of every company. I'm talking company. So now the same company who has it right on this side of my balanced circle, the same company can launch different projects, different products. It's like the company we're running, that we founded it 20 years ago. It's the same company. Under which umbrella, I don't know how many companies we helped through, we made through, we put equity, we co-founded, founded this, that products, but the backbone has always been the same. So that means I can actually use all those economy of scales. I have a warehouse. And this warehouse is running in operations, it's like the tiniest warehouse there has ever been. So that means if I have a new product, I already have the warehouse and I know how it's working. That's for trading. It's the same with IT. We have a developing team. And this team has it all, PHP, HTML, .NET, front-end, back-end, database, we have it. So now if there is something new, we can realize it. But we only can do that because we got this one straight. And let me tell you this, we didn't so at the very beginning. We went bankrupt twice in our lives. We is me and my partners, is like, we're like, family, siblings, anyhow. We went bankrupt. And when I look back, why? It never was the product. It just isn't true. It wasn't that much better or worse than any other product. When I look back, it always has been on this side. And to share real life experience, we just as recently as last month moved a production plant from Sweden, Stockholm, to Sweden up to the north. Because other than elks, there is nothing, so you would imagine you do the production plant there, it's much cheaper. Yeah, wrong call. Because now it turns out, it's the little things. Now it turns out in Stockholm, it's a hub for forwarding agencies. You have a truck every other hour. Up there, they don't even know what a truck looks like. So that means now they have to go up, charge extra, bring the stuff down. This is those details I'm talking about. And I'm telling you with everything I stand for, even if your product isn't the most innovative product the world has ever seen before, if you have this straight in sales, marketing, processes, and if you force yourself to stick to your own milestone plan, it's another thing. Time delay, it can break your neck. If you have a milestone plan, and you should have a milestone plan, big picture, vision, and the small steps. You can compensate with the fact that your product is not the most innovative product on planet Earth. You don't have to reinvent Facebook. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can compete on an established market. But with operational excellence, you have this, you know, you're better than the competitor. And as a small business, it's so much easier to be better than a competitor because it's so flexible. Everything you do, it instantly has an effect. Okay? So this is what I want to promote here. Be aware that this is the backbone of the operations. This you can only do with that. And then finally, it goes to the one thing that everybody thinks finance is limited to. Yes, expenses, all the legal questions, the structure which you build, in the meaning of what kind of entity will you do. Yeah, it is questions that have to be answered. And yes, you have to establish an accounting. And yes, you have to pay, project, and forecast taxes. But why? Because at the end, it's all cash flow relevant. When I calculate cash flow first, and then I change it into those tables of balance sheet and a profit and loss statement. Because honestly, I don't really care about the balance sheet. Unless I go to the bank, I don't care. The better my profit is, the more taxes I pay. Okay, think about it. Why would I do that? I want to have a cash flow that allows me to grow my business. Agreed? That's what I do. I'm not running my business to pay taxes, what is a huge profit in my books. I'm running my business to have the cash flow that allows me to further grow. So finance is not balance sheets, it's not banking talks. Finance is for yourself to, how should I put it, to see that balance of your doing in numbers. That's all it does. And this number is the cash flow. And if the cash flow is all right, then you call your tax consultant and you tell him, we have a problem. We're facing profit. What we're going to do? And then he does whatever he does. You know, as long as it's legal, I don't care. But the most important thing is to have the cash to realize all that. And I think this is the most important thing to me, to have things in that balance, to know every inch and every corner of your venture, even before it's a company. Don't wait to register it and say, now I'm registered, now I have a company. Nah. Every day you get up in the morning, even if as a freelancer, it is about this balance. It is about that balance, it is about thinking ahead, it is about finding the resources to make things happen and to keep things running. And in the world we live, it's money. So now you can pretend it's not, but at the end of the day, resources means money, unless we find a way to compensate money with somebody else or to substitute money with something else. So how does that work? Join forces. Make joint ventures, what else is there? Don't reinvent, but take existing products to then put some nice spice on it. This is all things which happen here in the thinking process, but here in the process of realization. So there is two sides of the same coin, but the coin always have two sides. If you flip them, you will know, is it how we do things, or is it how we want to do things, or is it how can we actually realize it? Possible, feasible. And if it's possible, but it's not feasible, you have to go back and make it feasible. What means if finance does not support your idea, you have two ways. Either you find the resources in money you need, or you adapt your vision, you adapt the way you want to do business so that it corresponds to the resources you have and the operations you could possibly pull up. I don't know no other way. And when I said it's not sexy, you know what, maybe it's not. If you don't want to do it because that's not who you are, find somebody who does. That's why we started acting as a service provider, because we realized as a young entrepreneur, you want to focus on your vision. You want to focus on that because this is what gives you joy. Okay. But if it should work out, you need to have both sides of the same coin. That's why we started as a service provider, because it is hard work. And I don't want to leave that completely unmentioned. It is hard work. It is crunching numbers for weeks. It is going back and forwards, I don't know how many times. It is reflecting every new idea into the same construct of number. It might mean to handle an Excel sheet with 15 or 20 of those tables. Yeah, that's what comes with it. If you don't want to do it, find somebody who does. But find somebody who does, because it's not going to work out in the long run. You need it. And there is people who take joy out of doing that. It is hard work. If it's somebody who wants to impose the same thing he has done the past 50 years and expect you to adapt your business model to the financial routine he established, turn around, run away, close the door. It's not how it works. It's your business. It's very unique. Running a business is extremely unique, so that means finance has to follow business, not business has to follow finance. Never ask a banker how he feels about that, obviously. Okay? So then it is about communicating numbers, communicating, and management accounting means exactly that. So if you're just about founding a company and you know now, and I hope you understood why I wanted to talk to you about this, it is important to have your financial matters absolutely in order. So now if you start the business, I would look for somebody as a team member who also knows how to communicate those numbers. And I've seen that, like, you know, it's those introverted number crunchers, which might not be the right team member for a startup. You need the skills, you need the knowledge, you need the experience, great, but it has to be more or less a co-founder. If it's a co-founder who knows how to handle the money, knows how to do the finance, you're never gonna have any problems ever again. Okay. So, it always works with the time. Your thoughts?
No, the best presentation that I heard in the last 2 days. No, this is so important that I don't understand why you are here and why didn't you open the conference.
I don't know, but
without this, there is no way that you're going to succeed. I'm telling you, I failed twice, and this is where it comes from. Sooner or later, even if they're going to give you the money, if you don't have this, you're out.
yes,
So,
as simple as
down
that.
to the point, fantastic. I'm in love with the presentation. It's
Thank you very much.
Not even the fifth one, the fourth one. It's all about.
Yes.
If you do not have the processes, as you said, forget about it. It's gonna work in the first few months. Maybe you're gonna even make the money, and it's gonna take you in an illusion, and then it's gonna wait behind the door when the market goes down, and you're gonna say, "Oh my God, what happened?"
Yes. Also because, you know, if things changing, market changing, competition changing, you have to react. But you can't react. It's like if you drive your bicycle without having your hands anywhere, okay? You cannot react. So only if you have everything in hand, you can react. Being in control of your business means to be able to answer to changes. And entrepreneurship does not only mean to change everything, to reinvent the wheel. It means to be able to act and react. I'm very happy that you feel the same way. Very happy you feel the same way.
Can I add to this? I completely agree. Because, you know, I was thinking, I'm the manager of the Hubscopia, Seed Hubscopia. So I'm a connector. We support, we're service provider as well for the startups. And I myself am involved in running this pre-acceleration program, and we mainly rely on Canvas model, but now I'm thinking that this is something that I will change, definitely. Because when I always talk about this Canvas aspect, and I get to this key activities point and operations, I always get stuck.
Yeah.
And I don't have all the answers, and now when I see how this kind of presentation and connections, I see that the answers clear. So I get transfer for the thank you.
I'm gonna make a statement now which is politically completely incorrect, but you know what, I'm gonna leave tomorrow, I don't care. The business canvas thingy is nice for business modeling. Okay, it's like when my daughter did come from kindergarten and she showed me how proud she is to realize 1 + 2 = 3. It was a huge accomplishment back then. But now she is doing mathematics I don't even understand anymore. My point, if we're talking entrepreneurship, it is not business modeling. If we're talking entrepreneurship, if we're talking taking money from somebody who sweat blood to earn it, I don't want to be stuck in business canvas. Sorry, I know it's not correct, but live with it. I want somebody who is on eye level, right? So if I want to get your money, I better prove I'm worth it. And if all I can do is putting some nice ideas into a business canvas, with all due respect, it's not business planning, it's business modeling. Because all you do with your canvas, which is great, I do not want to, so sorry for the record, I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying it's for different people. It's not for entrepreneurs, it's for people who want to understand what is an entrepreneurial mechanism. It's the first touching point. But if I want to ask for 200,000 euros, dollars, yen, I don't care what currency. I better have my numbers straight. It's button up. It's not just the surface. And honestly, I consider it a little bit dangerous to allow the idea that the business canvas is sufficient enough to act as a business plan. I'm sorry, because it's not.
No, we add a lot of other things. Not only that, we have to. It's not comprehensive.
Exactly.
Well, nobody explained why 90% and plus of the startups fail. They just said they fail. But why?
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Investments. Startup, somebody has to invest. That's mean your time, your money. You're gonna get an investor, you're gonna get a friend, you're gonna get it, yeah? And you're gonna fail. So maybe you will not even reach the first stage of getting the money or whatever it is. Where is the failure? What is the point of the failure of the business? And the point is not the vision, it's not the market, it's not the product, it's how you run it. And again, coming back to the basic, is the processing. Daily processing, staying ahead of your competition, looking at the market, looking at the political situation, being aware of all of these factors, so you can react, change, adapt, survive.
Yes.
And
yes.
That's it.
That's what you shall do.
That's the heart, that's the essence.
Plus, as a real entrepreneur, you know, you really get me. You get me really emotional. As an entrepreneur, I'm telling you straight, if you have a huge, how you say, basket, okay, everybody can like load hundreds of liters of water in 1 hour. Yeah, but what are you gonna do if you only have a spoon? Okay, that's what entrepreneurship means. You keep on doing, you keep on doing, you keep on doing, and you just don't have the resources. With enough money, let me say that, sorry, but now you really kicked me. With enough money, any idiot can sell any idiotic product at any given time. It's just a question of how much money you put in. You want to have proof? Go to any given supermarket and pick one consumer good. Ingredients, the lowest of all qualities. They start with marketing, and they have the money to do a marketing that tells you that those ingredients that eventually cause cancer would be great for your skin. With money, every idiot can do it. The challenge of entrepreneurship, and that's the beauty, that's what I'm in for. The challenge of entrepreneurship is to make something out of nothing. Once you did prove that, people will come. I have to stop, I'm gonna be quiet, I'm sorry. And up to my experience, once you prove you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, money will come, people will come, clients will come, all of them will come, okay? But you have to prove you can make something out of nothing. You have to prove you got what it takes to run a business.